Don't scroll. What happened in these 9 minutes will change the way you think about power. A black teenager walked into her own hotel and was kicked out by the staff because they didn't think she belonged. But what she did next, it didn't just shock them, it shook the entire hospitality industry. This isn't fiction, this is real. And her name is Amina Carter. The sun had barely broken through the overcast sky in Santa Rosa, California, when 19-year-old Amina Carter stepped out of her rideshare and stood in front of the grand entrance of the Belridge Manor Hotel. Her hoodie was pulled up, her sneakers slightly dusty from the early morning walk, and her only bag was a faded canvas backpack that hung off one shoulder. No one could tell by looking at her that she owned the building in front of her, or that in just 9 minutes she would flip the entire staff upside down. Amina didn't arrive with fanfare. No camera crew, no assistant, not even her usual driver. This visit was intentional, anonymous, strategic. It was something she liked to do, drop in unannounced to see how her hotels really functioned when no one was looking. She believed that true leadership wasn't about corner offices or 5-star interviews. It was about observation, quiet power. She stepped through the revolving glass doors and took a slow look around. Elegant marble flooring, minimalist floral arrangements, soft instrumental jazz floating from the speakers. It looked perfect, but she'd learned long ago that appearances meant nothing without respect beneath them. At the front desk, 3 staff members were clustered, 2 typing, 1 leaning back scrolling on her phone. No one looked up, no one greeted her. Amina waited. Still nothing. She cleared her throat softly, then approached the counter. "Hi, she began, polite, but the woman behind the counter raised a hand and cut her off without making eye contact. "Breakfast ended at 10. You'll need a key card if you want back there," she said flatly. Amina blinked. She hadn't even finished one sentence. And just like that, it began. Amina stood still for a second, processing what had just happened. She hadn't even introduced herself before being dismissed. It wasn't just rude, it was routine. The kind of routine that came with bias dressed up as policy. She knew the look. She'd seen it before, that silent calculation that happened behind people's eyes before they decided who you were and how little you mattered. She tried again. "I'm actually just here to—" The woman at the desk finally looked up. Her name tag read Cheryl, and her expression didn't shift, not a smile, not a hint of curiosity. Just a look up and down that said, "You don't belong here." "Are you here to deliver something?" Cheryl asked, tone crisp and dismissive. "No," Amina replied evenly. We've had people loitering in the lobby recently," Cheryl interrupted again. "If you're looking for a job, the employment forms are at the back service entrance." Amina's mouth parted in shock. "I'm not looking for a job," she said. From the corner, another staff member chimed in, a tall guy with stiff posture and a rehearsed smile. "If you're not a guest, we can't let you hang around in here, ma'am. Manager's policy." Before she could respond, the actual manager appeared, blazer sharp, Bluetooth earpiece blinking, coffee in hand. He gave Amina one glance and tightened the entire situation with 6 words. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to leave." Amina stared at him, jaw set. "If you're not a paying guest or registered visitor," he added, "we'll have to get security involved." He had no idea who he was talking to. Amina checked her phone, 11:32 a.m., and in that exact moment, she decided something. She would give them 9 minutes. Amina walked out of the lobby, her footsteps slow but deliberate, each step echoing off the polished tile floor. Not one person behind the front desk bothered to watch her leave. Cheryl had already gone back to her keyboard, the tall guy resumed scrolling on his phone, and the manager, Brent, according to the plaque on his desk, vanished back into the office with his overpriced latte and misplaced confidence. Outside, the bench was cold. The metal chilled her through the thin fabric of her leggings, but she didn't flinch, she didn't pace, she didn't scream, she just sat, still, calm, collected. But behind her quiet exterior, her mind was calculating, precise. Every second was a countdown, every breath a trigger pulled. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She unlocked it and scrolled to a save contact labeled Ops Blackline. She tapped. "Yeah," Amina said when the call connected. "Belridge Manor. I need the core team. Front office wipe. You've got 8 minutes." The voice on the other end didn't ask why. They didn't need to. They knew Amina, knew what it meant when she called using that line. On it came the reply. Amina ended the call, 1 minute down. She thought about the guests, the hundreds who'd walked through that lobby in different skin, different clothes, different accents, only to be dismissed like shadows. How many had been ignored? How many had been told to use the back door? She tapped out a quick group message: activate zero-tolerance protocol at Santa Rosa's site. Legal and HR should be standing by. 7 minutes left. Inside the lobby, Cheryl laughed at something on her phone. Amina didn't smile. The quiet ones never did. But in 8 minutes, they'd remember her face forever. At 11:40 a.m., the sound of tires scraping softly against the curb pulled the front desk staff's attention. 2 identical black SUVs pulled up outside the Belridge Manor, sleek and silent like predators in formation. The engines idled for a few seconds before the back door of the second vehicle opened. Amina rose from the bench without a word. From the first SUV stepped Marcus Reed, her lead legal strategist, tall, sharp-jawed, briefcase already in hand. From the second, Sasha McKnight, director of operations, dressed in black from blazer to heels, walking like she owned every inch of pavement beneath her. Both locked eyes with Amina. "Situation?" Marcus asked. She nodded toward the lobby doors. "Front desk. Manager, too." Sasha didn't ask for details. She didn't need them. Marcus pulled a thick manila folder from his case and handed it to Amina. Ownership documents, recent payroll records, employee logs and NDAs. All updated. Sasha adjusted her collar. "Ready when you are?" Amina gave a nod, calm and effortless. Together they walked toward the entrance, Amina in the center, Sasha and Marcus flanking her like bodyguards of reason and justice. Through the glass doors, Cheryl finally looked up. Her face shifted from boredom to confusion in seconds. Her fingers froze on the keyboard. Brent stepped out of the office, brow furrowed. The three entered silently. The room changed. The atmosphere shifted as if the air itself had realized who had just walked in. Amina's hoodie was still on, her sneakers still worn, but now the people in front of her saw something else. Not a stranger, not a kid, power. And it was walking straight toward them. Cheryl blinked twice, clearly trying to force her brain to catch up with what her eyes were seeing. She straightened, fumbling with her words as Amina and her team approached. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone suddenly much softer, nervous. "You can start by apologizing," Sasha said coldly, stepping right up to the desk. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It was sharp, crisp and final. "I apologize for what exactly?" Cheryl stammered. Marcus set the folder down on the counter with a quiet but unmistakable thud. He opened it slowly, revealing neatly tabbed documents with Belridge Manor's logo printed clearly at the top. "This," he said, tapping the top page with a pen, "is Amina Carter, owner, majority shareholder. The reason you received your last 3 paychecks." Cheryl's mouth dropped open. Brent appeared again, his Bluetooth earpiece still glowing. "Excuse me, what's going on here?" Amina finally spoke. "What's going on is that I walked into my hotel. I was ignored, then dismissed, then threatened with security." Brent blinked rapidly. "Wait, you're saying you're the owner?" "I'm not saying it," Amina replied calmly. "I am." Brent tried to recover. "Look, this must be a misunderstanding. If we had known—" "But you didn't ask," Sasha interrupted, eyes locked on him. "You assumed, based on what? Her age, her skin, her hoodie?" A pause thickened the air. Amina folded her arms. "You didn't see a guest. You didn't see a partner. You didn't even see a person." Cheryl looked like she might faint. Brent took a step back. "You've made it clear," Amina said. "Now let me return the favor." Brent swallowed hard, visibly sweating now. He looked at Amina as if seeing her for the first time, but it was too late for realization, too late for recovery. I didn't know," he stuttered. "If I had any idea—" "You had an idea," Amina cut in sharply. "Just the wrong one." Brent stood frozen, still trying to maintain some control. "I believe we can clear this up, Miss Carter. Maybe sit down, discuss how to move forward." "We are moving forward," Amina replied. "Without you." A tense silence followed. Brent's lips parted. "I don't follow." "You're done," she said flatly. "Effective immediately." The words landed like a hammer. Cheryl gasped audibly beside him. Marcus calmly pulled out another set of papers and handed them to Brent. "This is your termination notice, signed and authorized, security credentials already revoked." Cheryl turned pale. "Wait, what about me?" Amina turned to face her. "You and every staff member on shift today who stood by and said nothing, you're all done." Cheryl's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "I didn't mean—" "But you did," Amina said. "You meant every pause, every assumption. You didn't ask questions. You didn't show respect. You didn't even offer basic courtesy." Sasha tapped her tablet. "All front desk access has been disabled." Their exit packages will be processed by HR before the end of day. Brent looked stunned. Miss Carter, don't you think this is extreme? No, Amina said without flinching. What would be extreme is allowing people like you to continue representing what I built. Behind her, 2 replacement staff from internal operations walked in, ready to assume control. Brent and Cheryl stood there, powerless. Amina had taken back her space. Now she was taking back the standard. As Brent and Cheryl stood frozen, Sasha gave a subtle nod to the incoming operations team. They moved swiftly, grabbing temporary badges, deactivating the front desk terminals, logging out staff credentials. No raised voices, no arguments, just precision, the kind of efficiency that only came when the top knew exactly how the bottom worked. Amina stepped back, observing it all with quiet authority. The remaining guests in the lobby watched in stunned silence. A man with a golf bag had taken out his phone, recording discreetly. 2 women near the coffee bar whispered, their eyes wide as they glanced at Amina's face, recognizing her now. But she wasn't there for attention, she was there for accountability. You didn't just insult me, Amina said softly, looking back at Brent and Cheryl. You insulted the standard I built from nothing. They didn't reply. What could they say? Amina glanced over at Marcus, who stepped forward again. For your records, he said, placing a final envelope on the counter. These include the breakdown of today's dismissals, security reports, and NDAs. You are not to discuss this event with media, guests, or other employees. Failure to comply will result in legal action. Cheryl looked like she might cry. Amina turned away, not out of cruelty, but clarity. Her silence was heavier than anger, because what no one knew, what Brent and Cheryl couldn't see, was how hard Amina had fought to build this business. Not from some family fortune or secret investor. She built Ellison Legacy Properties 1 room at a time, 1 weekend rental, 1 borrowed mop and handwritten welcome sign. And every step of the way, someone had told her she didn't belong. Today, she reminded the world, she never needed permission. Amina didn't grow up walking through hotel lobbies. She grew up cleaning them. At 15, while most kids were worrying about school dances and test scores, she was Googling how to start an LLC. Her mom had lost her job working as a clerk in Fresno's City Hall, and eviction notices were hitting their mailbox like clockwork. Amina knew something had to give, so she listed their small guest room, no website, no startup capital, just a borrowed iPhone and a promise of clean sheets, bottled water, and her mother's homemade granola bars. That first guest, a traveling nurse from San Diego. The woman left a glowing review, calling it a hidden gem, and just like that, Ellison Legacy Properties was born. No logo, no investors, just hustle. By the time Amina was 17, she had transformed their entire house into a weekend stay hub. She slept in the garage, ran customer support between math classes, and watched YouTube tutorials on marketing instead of watching Netflix. There was no one guiding her, no mentors, no blueprint, only instinct and fire. She saved every penny, no shopping sprees, no designer clothes, just a dream. At 18, she bought a rundown roadside inn outside Sacramento. Everyone told her it was a terrible investment. Mold in the walls, broken windows, no bookings. But she painted the rooms herself, designed every welcome card, hired people who'd been overlooked, former inmates, single moms, teens without resumes. She trained them herself. The motto was simple, people first, judgment never. And now, just 1 year later, she owned 7 properties across California, including the very hotel she had just been kicked out of. And that's why she wasn't going to let this go, because this wasn't about just her. By Monday morning, Amina had done more than fire a few staff members. She'd set a fire through her entire company, and not one built on rage, but on reform. At 6:42 a.m., an internal email hit the inboxes of every single employee across all 7 Ellison Legacy Properties. Its subject line was simple: we don't guess who people are, no dramatic intro, no marketing fluff, just 6 paragraphs that would shake the company to its core. It read, in part, greater than if someone walks into our space, we greet them. If we're unsure of their role, we ask, politely. What we do not do is assume, dismiss, or degrade based on how someone looks, dresses, or speaks. We are not gatekeepers of worth. We are hosts of dignity. The email required every staff member, from front desk to laundry service, to attend a mandatory retraining session by the end of the week. Bias training, guest engagement, and first contact response. No shortcuts, no exceptions. And at noon, Amina went live on a full company Zoom call. Her background was plain. No luxury suite, no stage lights, just a chair, a laptop, and her truth. "I walked into one of our hotels 3 days ago," she began, "wearing this same hoodie, no entourage, no clipboard, and I was told to leave. The Zoom room was silent. I wasn't asking for special treatment. I was testing the integrity of our culture." She leaned forward. "And we failed." One employee typed, "What if someone refuses the training?" Amina read it aloud without a pause. "Then they can go." That one line, "then they can go," would be quoted across social media by nightfall, not just because it was bold, but because it was true. The video from Belridge Manor's lobby leaked that same week. Not from Amina's team, but from a guest. It showed her walking back into the hotel with Sasha and Marcus, standing at the front desk, calm as ever, while Brent and Cheryl scrambled to cover their mistake. No raised voices, no dramatic confrontations, just one young black woman dismantling the myth of power and rebuilding something stronger. The clip went viral. She fired the whole staff in 9 minutes. She didn't yell. She didn't even raise her voice. That's what real leadership looks like. Comments flooded in from around the world. Parents, teens, business owners, and people who had felt dismissed in their own lives. Some cried watching it. Some shared stories of being turned away from jobs, stores, hotels, because they didn't look like they belonged. Amina stayed quiet through the media buzz. She didn't post a statement, didn't grant interviews. Her only message was the one she gave her team in that Zoom call: greater than we don't lead from fear. We lead from clarity. And if our guests can't walk into our spaces and feel seen, then we've already failed. But behind the scenes, she was just getting started. She launched a new hiring initiative, specifically targeting those overlooked by traditional hospitality, teens aging out of foster care, people with records, mothers returning to the workforce. And she didn't just give them jobs, she gave them mentorship. By the end of the year, Ellison Legacy Properties would open 3 more hotels, all designed with community spaces, no VIP-only lobbies, and a training program called Walk-In Worthy. Because Amina Carter didn't just fire a staff, she fired up a movement, and in 9 unforgettable minutes, she reminded the world what respect really looks like. If this story moved you, if you've ever been judged for how you look or where you come from, hit that like button, share this video, and let the world know we don't guess who people are. We see them, we respect them. Subscribe for more real stories that restore power to the people who earned it.